أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين وعلى صحبه أجمعين ومن اتبع لسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I greet you with the greeting of Islam, which is to say, may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon you. After greeting you, inshallah, we invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His blessings and His peace upon His messenger, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the seal of the prophecy, the leader of the messengers, and upon his companions, and upon his family, and upon all those who follow them in guidance until the day of judgment. Amma ba'd, now I still proceed, inshallah, we continue with our lessons of Mukhtasar al-Akhdari, the abridgment of Imam al-Akhdari with respect to morals, purification, and prayer. We finished the section on morals quite some time ago. We followed up with the sessions on purification, which went from the types of water all the way until the ruling on postpartum bleeding. And then last week we began the section on the awqat, the times of the salah. And then today, inshallah, we began faslun fi shurut as-salah. We began with the section on the conditions of the prayer. Shurut is the plural of shart. Shart meaning condition, shurut meaning conditions. A condition is something that must be in place in order for another thing to be realized. The condition is not part of the thing itself, but without the condition, the thing cannot be realized. To give you an example, in most Western countries, you have to be 19 or 18 to vote, right? What this means is that the age is not part of the voting itself. Age has nothing to do with the act of voting itself, right? And even if it's closely related to it, but it's not part of the act of voting itself. But it's a condition in order to be able to vote. Likewise, the conditions of salat are those things that a person has to have in place in order to be able to, for their prayer to be valid. Without the conditions being met, even if you pray your salat is not valid. If we study another book called Matn al-Ashmawiyya, they divide the shurut into shurut al-wujub and shurut al-siha. That the shurut are of two types. The shurut that relate to salat being wajib upon you. Imam al-Akhdari, he doesn't cover that. So the conditions that relate to salat being wajib are first and foremost, you have to be a Muslim, that the salat is wajib upon a Muslim. Secondly, you have to meet the legal age of responsibility, meaning that you've attained puberty or 18 years old, because the Sharia doesn't allow for anyone that hasn't met the legal age to be held to account for anything. You understand? They're not rewarded or punished for their actions. So if they reach that age, and salat becomes wajib upon them. Third is that you have to how do you call it? You have to be of sound intellect. Likewise, just that the Sharia doesn't necessitate for a person below the age of puberty and below the age of distinction to be held to account. A person that doesn't have all their rational faculties is not held to account, right? So a person that is quote unquote mentally retarded, or a person that's suffering from psychosis, or a person that's senile, that person is not, salat is not wajib upon them. And then the fourth condition of the salat becoming wajib, what are known as the shurut al-wujub, is that the time of the prayer has come. Is meaning that the salat doesn't become wajib upon you until that specific time of prayer has come. So the fajr that is coming in a few hours, it's not wajib on me until it actually comes in. Once it sets in and I have these three other conditions, then it becomes incumbent upon me to pray fajr. So those are known as shurut al-wujub. Those are the conditions that are related to salat becoming obligatory, meaning that when those conditions are met, the salat becomes obligatory upon you. Here Imam al-Akhdari, he focuses strictly on the shurut al-siha, the conditions for the prayer to be valid, inshallah. And Matn al-Ashmawi, which is a different book, inshallah, we'll do after this book, he talks about both the shurut that are related to the wujub, meaning the salat becoming wajib, and then also the shurut that's related to the siha, to the salat being valid as well. You understand? Inshallah, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. And Imam al-Akhdari, he says, well, shurut salat. He says, in the conditions of the prayer are, meaning the shurut for the condition for the prayer to be valid, meaning the shurut siha, the salat. It says, as though he's saying, shurut siha, the salat. The conditions of soundness of the prayer are as follows. Taharatul hadath, first and foremost, is to be pure from any hadath. We said hadath are events, right? That if they occur, they necessitate that a person purifies himself from using wudu, right? So for example, if you urinate, if you defecate after you clean yourself, whatever the case might be. You blow wind, you fall into a deep, heavy sleep, you go unconscious, you lose your mind. When those things happen to you and you want to pray again, then you have to perform wudu. So that's taharatul hadath. وطهارة الخبث, and you also have to have purity from filth, from physical filth itself, from urine and from feces and from semen. And then he says that what has to have taharatul khabath. Taharatul hadath is a state. When you achieve taharatul hadath, nothing changes on the outside. I urinate, I wash my private parts, and then I perform wudu. From the time that I washed my private parts to the time I made wudu, nothing of filth was taken off. My arm wasn't filthy, my eyes weren't filthy, my head wasn't filthy, my mouth wasn't filthy, nothing was filthy, right? By eyes, I mean my face. But with taharatul khabath is actual filth. So a person has to also be free from filth. But what is it specifically that has to be free from filth? He says, min al-badani, first and foremost, your body has to be free of filth, right? That in order for you to pray, if there's any urine or feces or sperm on your body, you have to remove it, or menstrual blood likewise. Wathawb, and then your clothes as well. The clothes that you're praying in has to also be free from khabath. Wal makan, and then the place that you're praying also has to be free from khabath. So those three things also have to have taharatul khabath, meaning your body, your clothes, and your place of prayer all have to be free from impurity. By impurity, I mean things that are impure in the Sharia. I don't mean dust. I don't mean, for example, leftover food or things of that nature. Even though that's ugly and it shouldn't be in the place where you're praying, those things don't nullify your prayer. Khabath is specifically filth that, such as feces, such as urine, such as menstrual blood and semen. You understand? So those things can't be on your body, on your clothes, or on your place of prayer. He says another condition. He says, "Well, satrul awra is that you have to cover your awra, your what you would say your private parts, if I want to translate it in that way, right? The intimate elements of your body." And then he's going to tell us what the awra is for the man and the female. He says, likewise, wa istiqbal al-qibla. Another condition for your prayer to be sound is that you have to face the qibla. Right? If you know where the qibla is and you purposely turn away from it in order to pray, then your prayer is invalid. He says, وَتَرْكُ الْكَلَامِ, it's also a condition of the prayer to leave off speech. That's not part of the salah, وَتَرْكُ الْأَفْعَالِ الْكَثِيرَةِ, and you also have to leave off excessive action, excessive movements, right? In order for your salah to be prayer, you can't come and be doing the niyyah, right? And while you're doing the niyyah or the takbiratul ihram, you're doing jumping jacks. No, that your salah wouldn't be valid. Now he tells us earlier, he said wasatul awra. He said that the covering of the awra is part of the conditions, right? So here he's going to tell us what the awra is. He says wa awratul rajul. He says the awra of a man. He said ma bayna surrati wa rukbati is what's between his navel and his knee. Meaning that's the minimum that he has to cover in order for his prayer to be valid. He says, وَالْمَرْأَةُ كُلُّهَا عَوْرَةٌ. He says, for the woman, the entirety of her body is a awra, مَا عَدَى, except al-wajh, except her face, وَالْكَفَّيْنِ, in her two hands. Meaning that when she prays, she has to cover her hair, she has to cover her body. What has to appear is just her hands and her face. You understand? Now, وَتُكْرَهُ الصَّلَاةُ فِي السَّرَاوِيلِ. He said it's disliked to pray prayers strictly in jeans. What he means here, or pants, I should say, trousers, meaning just to pray in trousers or you're not wearing anything else as a man, right? Because he's saying that your salat is from your navel to your awra is from your navel to your knee. So technically you could wear trousers if they can't be up to your navel. But it's disliked because there's a high likelihood that during the process of salat, your awra is going to get exposed. And he tells us that it's not just any pants, but what he means is by pants without wearing anything on top. Because he says, إِلَّا إِذَا كَانَ فَوْقَهَا شَيْءٌ, except if you have something on top. So if you're wearing a t-shirt or a jacket or a shirt that would sufficiently cover your awra, then there's nothing wrong with wearing pants to pray. You understand? He says, وَمَنْ تَنَجَّسَ ثَوْبُهُ. He says, whoever's clothes has najis on it, has one of the things that we describe as filthy as being upon it, such as sperm, urine, feces, menstrual blood, وَلَمْ يَجِدْ ثَوْبًا غَيْرَهُ, and he has no other clothes, he can't find other clothes. وَلَمْ يَجِدْ مَاءً يَغْسِلُهُ بِهِ, or he has no water by which he could wash it, like he has nothing that he could use to wash that. أَوْ لَمْ يَكُنْ عِنْدَهُ مَا يَلْبَسُ, or there's nothing that he can wear حَتَّى يَغْسِلَهُ, until he washes clothes. وَخَافَ خُرُوجَ الْوَقْتِ, and on top of that, he's scared that by the time he finishes finding clothes or getting water or finishing washing or finding another pair of clothes, that the time of the prayer will leave. صَلَّ بِنَجَاسَتِهِ, then that person will pray in his clothes, even though with the impurity on his clothes. Why? Because one of the principles of the religion is al-daruratu tubihul mahdurat. The difficulties that arise in the religion, they allow for what normally would be not allowed. The Sharia doesn't tell you that, okay, because this clothes has najas, you have to go and pray naked. No, right? Because this clothes has najas, you have to go and run to Yorkdale Mall at 5 a.m. in the morning, break down the door, get a shirt and steal a shirt and then go wear it. No, the Sharia doesn't say that. Sharia just says, if you can't find anything, you have absolutely no way to go and wash these clothes, right? Then what you would do is you just go and pray in that najasa, despite the fact that it's disliked, but your prayer will still be valid because you have a necessity, you have an excuse. You understand? Because you have an excuse. He says, وَلَا يَحِلُّ تَأْخِيرُ الصَّلَاةِ لِعَدَمِ الطَّهَارَةِ. So somebody might say, okay, so the time of salah is going to leave before I can finish achieving tahara. So he says to you, وَلَا يَحِلُّ تَأْخِيرُ الصَّلَاةِ لِعَدَمِ الطَّهَارَةِ. He says it's not permissible for you to delay the salah beyond its proper time, لِعَدَمِ الطَّهَارَةِ, because you don't have tahara, because you don't have purity. Meaning that if it comes down to the choice of either you not praying on time, or but you have purity, or you praying on time but you don't have the purity, if that's the choice that you're faced with, then you pray on time, even without the wudu. You understand? Even without the wudu. So if a person, for example, wakes up 5 minutes before Fajr, and he knows that I have no way to do, and he's in a state of janaba, major irrational impurity, and he wants to do ghusl in order to be able to pray Fajr on time, but he knows if he does that, it'll take 10 minutes of the time of Fajr will leave. So that person would simply, if he has a chance, to do tayammum and then pray. If it would take too much time for him to do tayammum, like find a rock or whatever the case might be to do tayammum, then he simply prays. You understand, without the purity. But that's extremely disliked. It's extremely disliked because it goes to show a lack of care with respect to the religion. To the point where you're praying without one of the conditions of the prayer, and you're doing so out of necessity because the time of the prayer is so important. But you're doing so because of your own laziness and your own neglect. We ask Allah for protection. He says, وَمَنْ فَعَلَ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ عَصَى رَبَّهُ. But whoever chooses to delay the salah beyond its proper time because he wants to go make wudu, right? So there's 5 minutes left. It takes me 10 minutes to make wudu, and I go make wudu, and now the time of Maghrib is left. Then that person has disobeyed his Lord. He says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ مَا يَسْتُرُ بِهِ عَوْرَتُهُ صَلَّ عُرْيَانًا. So the Sharia, it even provides excuses for extreme cases, right? So he says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ لَهُ مَا يَسْتُرُ بِهِ. Whoever doesn't find something that's going to cover him, meaning you have absolutely no clothes whatsoever. You can't even find a bed sheet to cover you. You understand? You're that destitute. Well, yes, love for protection. He says, صَلَّ عُرْيَانًا. So you just pray naked. I mean, the prayer is that important. That if you have to pray naked, pray naked. He says, وَمَنْ أَخْتَأَ الْقِبْلَةَ. He says, whoever makes a mistake when it comes to the Qibla, meaning you're out somewhere, your Muslim Pro app is not working, or the compass on your Muslim Pro is broken, it's giving you a faulty time, and then you come and realize, I actually prayed in the wrong direction. He says, أَعَادَ فِي الْوَقْتِ. Meaning, so long as you're in the time of that same prayer, you can redo that prayer. You understand? He says, وَكُلُّ إِعَادَةٍ فِي الْوَقْتِ فَهِيَ فَضِيلَةٌ. But make no mistake, every time that you return the prayer within the time, then فَهِيَ فَضِيلَةٌ. Then that's something that's desirable. It's not wajib. It's not something that is imposed upon you. You understand? Meaning that if you make a mistake with respect to the Qibla and you had already prayed, if you choose not to pray your prayer again, then your first prayer is still accepted. But what's desirable is that you redo your prayer. You understand? Now, he says, وَكُلُّ مَا تُعَادُ مِنْهُ الصَّلَاةُ فِي الْوَقْتِ فَلَا تُعَادُ مِنْهُ الْفَائِتَةُ وَالنَّافِلَةُ. He says, whatever is re-prayed with respect to the salah, then you don't re-pray that salah outside of the time. Right? So I make a mistake, and you don't re-pray nawafil as well outside of the time. So for example, you know, I uh, I uh, I made a mistake with respect to the qibla. I made a mistake with respect to the qibla. You understand? During the maghrib, I realized it after the time of I realized it after the time of Isha, or after the time of Fajr, and now I want to redo my prayer. No, you don't do that, because the time of the prayer has passed, and your mistake was something that, even though it didn't, even though it's desirable for you to repeat your prayer, it doesn't invalidate your prayer, because you made a mistake that was based on ijtihad. You had the best information available to you. You thought the qibla was this way, but it was actually that way, right? So it's desirable for you to return your prayer, to meaning repeat it, but it's not obligatory. You understand? And likewise, for the nawafil are like that too. The nawafil, for example, if I want to pray 2 rak'ahs after dhuhr, right, and I forget it, right, and then the time of maghrib comes, that nawafil that I intended for dhuhr, that's no longer something I can repray. I can pray another nawafil, but it wouldn't be to replace the one that I just missed right there. You understand? Except for in some cases, for example, with the salat al-witr, or some nawafil that you do regularly, that you have a will of. In that case, you can make them up. You understand? So inshallah, we will end it here. This is the shurut al-salat. These are the conditions of salat. He says that the conditions of the salat, first and foremost, is the taharat al-hadath, is to be pure after any events that would normally sully you. With taharat al-khabas, and to be free from filth. Min al-badani, first in terms of your body. With thobi, secondly in terms of your clothes. Wal makani, thirdly in terms of the place that you're praying. Wasatru al-awra, he says another condition of the prayer is that your awra, your private parts, your intimate parts are covered. وَإِسْتِقْبَالُ الْقِبْلَةِ, and that you face the qibla as well. وَتَرْكُ الْكَلَامِ, that you leave off speech that doesn't belong to the prayer. I mean, whatever is not part of the speech of the prayer, the words of the prayer, then that's not part of the salah. You leave that off. وَتَرْكُ الْأَفْعَالِ الْكَثِيرَةِ, and that you leave off excessive physical movement. Meaning things that are not part of the prayer. You're doing jumping jacks, and you're stretching, and you're doing all this type of nonsense. وَعَوْرَةُ الرَّجُلِ, he says now the awra, the private parts, the intimate parts of a man. He says, "Ma bayna surrati wa rukbat," is that which is between his navel and the top of his knees. So the knees is not the bottom of the knees, but the top of the knees. You understand? But getting into the bottom of the knees is safer, because when your pants move, then, or your shorts move, then your thighs can become exposed. Wal mar'atu kullaha, and the woman, the entirety of the woman's body, awratun, is a awra, is something that should be covered. Ma ala al-wajh, except for her face, wal kaffaini, and her two hands. وَتُكْرَهُ الصَّلَاةُ فِي السَّرَاوِيلِ, he says, dislike to pray salah in trousers, إِلَّا إِذَا كَانَ فَوْقَهَا شَيْءٌ, except if there's something that you're wearing on top of the trousers, right? So even if you're a woman, you have trousers, but you have a blouse that's coming all the way down and covers the rest of you, there's nothing wrong with that. A man, you have a t-shirt, a dress shirt, a thobe, nothing wrong with wearing trousers in that case. He says, وَمَنْ تَنَجَّسَ, whoever's thobe becomes sullied by something impure, such as sperm, such as urine, such as feces, such as menstrual blood. وَلَمْ يَجِدِ الثَّوْبَ غَيْرَهُ, and he can't find another garment. وَلَمْ يَجِدِ مَاءً يَغْسِلُهُ, and he can't find any type of water to wash his clothes with. أَوْ لَمْ يَكُنَ عِنْدَهُ مَا يَلْبَسُ حَتَّى يَغْسِلَهُ, and he has something else that he can wear, or he has something else that he can wear until he finishes washing his clothes. Meaning that if he were to wash his clothes, he'd have to do it naked. وَخَافَ خُرُوجَ الْوَقْتِ, and he fears the time of the salah is going to leave. صَلَّ بِنَجَاسَتِهِ, then he prays with that filth and that impurity on his clothes. He doesn't let the time of the salah leave, no matter what. وَلَا يَحِلُّ تَأْخِيرُ الصَّلَاةِ لِعَدَمِ الطَّهَارَةِ, he said it's not permissible for someone to delay the prayer beyond its proper time because of lacking purity. He says, وَمَنْ فَعَلَ ذَلِكَ, and whoever does that, فَقَدَ عَصَى رَبَّهُ, then he's disobeyed his Lord. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ مَا يَسْتُرُ بِهِ عَوْرَتَهُ صَلَّى عُرْيَانًا, he says whoever cannot find anything that would cover his body, that he's awra, he can't find a bed sheet, he can't find a towel, he can't find anything. صَلَّى عُرْيَانًا, and he prays naked. وَمَنْ أَخْتَأَ الْقِبْلَةَ, whoever makes mistakes with respect to the qibla, أَعَادَ فِي الْوَقْتِ, then it's preferable for him to repeat his prayer, so long as he's still in the time of that prayer. وَكُلُّ عِيَادَةٍ فِي الْوَقْتِ فَهِيَ فَضِيلَةٌ, and every type of time that you repeat the prayer within its time, then that's a fadila, then that's something that is mustahab, it's recommended, it's not wajib. وَكُلُّ مَا تُعَادُ مِنْهُ الصَّلَاةُ فِي الْوَقْتِ, and every prayer that is repeated within a time, فَلَا تُعَادُ مِنْهُ الْفَائِتَةُ, then you would not repeat it outside of its time. Meaning that if his prayer time has gone by, you wouldn't repeat it. Meaning that if it's a prayer that you're allowed to repeat, or is desirable to repeat it because of something that doesn't invalidate your salah. You understand? because it's something that doesn't invalidate your salah, then if that time passes, the prayer time, that passes, then you wouldn't repeat it. But if the prayer time passes and it was something that you made a mistake in your salat, like you prayed without wudu, and therefore your salat wasn't valid, even if 10 years passes by, you still have to repeat that prayer. One nafila, and likewise the nawafil, if it goes out of the time, then you don't repeat it. You understand? Inshallah, we'll end it here. Jazakumullah khair, ya ikhwan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from us, to make it a means of tawfiq for us, to put barakah in all of our affairs, to get us khair in this life and next life. وَمَا ذَلِكَ اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّكَ رَبِّ الْعِزَّةِ عَمَّا يَصِفُونَ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ اللهم صل على محمد.